Recently concluded elections in Rwanda, where Paul Kegame is all set to continue as the Rwandan president for the fourth consecutive term, as he gets the vast majority or margin of the votes. The full provisional results are due to be declared by 20th of July and final ones will be known by 27th July.
Paul Kagame is all set to extend his term. Rwandan President Kagame is expected to cruise to a fourth term in office against two opposition candidates who were cleared to run against him but have only modest expectations. He has already secured 99.15% of the vote, with most ballots counted, as opposition candidates were largely absent due to restrictions. Kagame has won praise during his tenure for rebuilding the country of 14 million after a genocide in which more than 1 million people were killed. But his government has been accused by Western nations and rights activists of assassinating opponents and backing rebel groups in neighboring Congo for nearly 30 years. The country's de facto leader for 3 decades faced only 2 challengers after the courts banned his most prominent critiques. Let's take a look at his political journey. Beginning in 1990 as commander of the forces of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, he led the struggle to liberate Rwanda. He served as chair of the African Union from 2018 to 2019 and chaired the East African Community from 2018 to 2021. In 2019, he was elected chairperson of the East African Community and has been leading the institutional reform of the African Union since 2016. President Kagame is currently chairperson of the AU Development Agency New Partnership for Africa's Development, as well as African Union leader for domestic health financing. Internationally, Kagame is recognized for his efforts in regional diplomacy and promoting African unity. He has served on various international boards and committees advocating for African development and reform. The hallmarks of President Kagame's administration are peace and reconciliation, women's empowerment, promotion of investment and entrepreneurship, and access to information technology, a cause he also champions as co-chair of the Broadband Commission for Sustainable Development. Kagame's political dominance has been bolstered by his party's control over the political landscape, resulting in landslide electoral victories. Despite criticism, he remains a prominent and influential figure in African politics, shaping Rwanda's trajectory in the 21st century. Bureau Report, DD India.
And from Kinshasa for more updates, DD India's Chris Okarminga joins us from Kinshasa there in Rwanda. Now, President Paul Kagame, Chris is, he's now on course to extend his 24-year-old rule by another 5 years in a landslide win. It is just a matter of formality now as far as the official announcements are made on 20th and 27th. How does this work?
That's right. According to the Electoral Commission, more than 80% of the votes, total votes that were cast have been counted, and President Kagame has got 99.15%. He's a clear lead. He has a clear lead in this election, and the two opponents who stood in this election, Frank Habineza and Philip Mpaimana, have already conceded defeat. Both of them got less than 1%. And it's pretty much a done deal. But some opposition figures, Rwandan opposition figures living in exile, have described the election in Rwanda as a sham and a comedy. They are urging the international community not to take it seriously because they say President Paul Kagame has been leading the country with an iron fist and has not allowed serious contenders to challenge him in the presidential election.
Having said that, can we say that there was actually no meaningful opposition, as you just mentioned? There were bans inflicted, they were in exile, and with the leading figures banned out there. So clearly this was not a contest. So overall, how are there questions about the credibility, the very credibility of these elections? Because you don't have elections when there is no opposition.
Yeah, so that position is being fronted by the opposition, critics of President Paul Kagame, who has ruled this country for 24 years and is going to extend his rule for another 5 years. Many of them have been saying that the president has not been tolerating any criticism from politicians. They have been harassing them and imprisoning them, and so that is what they are saying, that this is not an election that was a genuine one. But the government in Rwanda is saying that they have maintained all the principles of a free and fair election. They've ensured that democratic rights of the people of Rwanda is respected, and many of his supporters are saying that President Paul Kagame has been the clear favorite and that they voted for him massively. They say President Kagame has restored peace in the country. He has been able to build a lot of infrastructure and improve the economy that was really in shatters after the 1994 genocide, where about 800,000 Tutsis and some moderate Hutus were killed by Hutu extremists.
Chris, finally, so this again coming back to power despite no opposition or voices of dissent, his pro-people's policy, he seems to enjoy a massive pro-people image in the country by securing reportedly 99.9% margin of the vote. So he does have overwhelming support coming from Rwandans, is it?
Well, one may argue that way because President Kagame has been a person who believes in action. He moves around to different villages of Rwanda and calls meetings, town hall meetings with the locals, and calls the leaders of that area. And if those people accuse the leaders of doing something wrong, then they are punished right there on the spot, and that has made him very popular, especially in some of the rural parts of Rwanda. But on the other hand, he has not been tolerating criticism, especially about the way he has been running the country. He has had a very firm grip on power in Rwanda, and that is what is the biggest criticism about his leadership. He has not been allowing dissent, and so people have been criticizing him for really stifling the freedoms of the Rwandan people.
All right, we'll leave it there. Many thanks, Chris, for joining us live from Kinshasa and Rwanda on the elections and the results of the elections. Thank you. And from Rwanda, let's shift our focus to US elections, where in a